This is where the fun begins.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
King Kong ain't got shit on me!
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Say my name.
And here we go.
What's going on, everyone? This is a brand new episode of Realish. I am your host, Derrick.
And I'm co-host Matthew.
Yes, sir. And we have guests with us joining us today. My co-host on the sideline, guys, the host on the MMA Archive. One of the guys. Both these gentlemen here helped save 2 shows on under the OTS, and I am forever indebted to them. So thank you guys so much for all y'all do for these both these shows. But Chris Negron, my brother from Bronx.
Ooh, just want to say I never heard you roll that R like that.
I had to
man.
roll the
you did
R,
something
bro.
to me just now, bro.
I had to roll the R for you, bro, because I never do it. So welcome to the show. You've been trying to get on for what, the last year and a half, I think, and we weren't in a good place, bro. We were under construction, so we couldn't have any guests come in while the house was messed up. So it's all furnished, we're built, it's good, so welcome to the show finally.
Thank you guys for having me, man. I'm really excited. This is something that, given all the hours we spent together on TSG, you have no idea how much this means to me and how much like this is a part of my life as well beyond just sports. So really excited to talk shop with you guys.
Well, yeah, that's I'm glad you brought that up, because for everyone that if you don't know Chris yet, Chris went to film school just like me, and so we've had a couple of discussions already based on film topics off camera, and it was like, we need to actually do this on a recording. Yeah, like it makes no sense. We have all these podcasts and not doing anything. So I'm glad to finally have you on, bro. It's been one that we've been waiting to have for a long time, and there's actually some stuff that would be nice to get out of the way. Matt and I haven't discussed some stuff as well, but let's kind of like get to know you. What's since you were in film school, what is your favorite element of filmmaking? Yeah, whether it's movies or television shows, what's your favorite aspect?
Man, that's such a hard question to answer.
Because
what I like doing and what I like about movies is like 2 different things. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say I guess what always keeps me coming back is like feeling something, right? I know that sounds so cliche, but once you get to knowing a little bit more about my favorite movies and things like that, like I think that's big for me, being a part of the audience and being able to have the story unfold to you in a way that's personal to you. I think that's really what always keeps me really excited and engaged with film.
So is that what got you into filmmaking to begin with?
That's a good question, man. So to be honest, what got me into filmmaking was the fact that I went to a film school. To make a long story short, on some criminal shit, I can't even explain. Look up Theater Arts Production Company, you guys. I encourage you. That's the middle school I went to. There's a storied history about how corrupt and strange that school is, including the principal being arrested and many students going to Ivy League schools where they didn't belong. Look it up. It's a very interesting story. But they actually submitted my high school application for me. So it's very illegal in order to almost keep me in the pipeline to go, because it's a middle school, high school.
Yeah.
Because of my mom's connections in the DOE, I was able to resubmit it because that wasn't me.
Wow.
And the school I ended up getting chose to was the cinema school. So I didn't go into the cinema school a big movie fan. Like, of course, you watch movies with your family. And I kind of resisted the first 2 years, to be honest, like getting heavy into filmmaking. But actually being a part of a program called the Ghetto Film School is really what solidified me as I consider myself a filmmaker, and just filmmaking and what it was about for me. As someone who's a first AD on set, my job is to get everyone to do their job. So learning how to do things is what really fascinated me about filmmaking. And then when actually doing it, giving people the creative space to do that, and creating the platform time-wise for them to do that is what really got me hooked.
Yeah, no, that's dope, man. That's dope, Matt. I don't think you and I have discussed this before, and we may have loosely discussed it on the show, but I don't think we've gone in depth on it. But like, what got you into filmmaking? Like, or let me see, because you're not in the production aspect of things. You're on the audience side, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So
That's right.
what intrigued you with filmmaking then? Let me ask you that way.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So I grew up watching a bunch of animated kids movies,
Yeah.
a bunch of superhero movies. So I definitely wasn't I guess like focused on the actual filmmaking aspects that
Mm,
go into movies at all. It wasn't until I watched No Country for Old Men, and that was back in 2015, 2016, where I actually developed a true like a true appreciation for what cinema offers you,
okay.
beyond great performances, but just all the hard work and effort that goes into making something very special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that movie in particular was like, I think just from a cinematography standpoint, obviously from a directing standpoint, like really fascinated me. And of course, like it really like as someone who isn't the best writer as well, also maybe slightly jealous how screenwriters are able to put together like these masterful stories.
Yeah.
Like it's just astonishing to think how like screenwriters in general are just able to like let all these ideas flow onto many papers and probably go through not one, not two, but probably hundreds of revisions before they finalize something.
Hmm.
And as a perfectionist myself, that's sort of the aspect I appreciate is that you can definitely tell when you have a lot of people behind and in front of the camera putting all their effort into a movie or TV show, and then other times you can definitely tell when studios or people in general are slacking off and they're not really
Yeah.
they're just there to make a quick buck. And I think similar to what Chris was saying too, movies make you feel something. So I think that's probably where it started for me anyways. What about you actually? Because I haven't really asked many questions about your time during film school, because I know you obviously did a bit of you were a cinematographer, obviously. You
Hmm.
had a lot of experience on that front. But
Yeah.
is that something you would ever want to revisit again? Like is it something, if someone were to ask you to go and do it, you can just
No, no. I got into filmmaking. Well, the very first film I saw in theaters was The Lion King. So I love animated films as well. So 32 years old, about to be 33. I still watch animated films. I am not ashamed. But yeah, Lion King, Toy Story, but what got me into filmmaking, like interested in filmmaking, was The Matrix. So that trilogy, and you know how precious that trilogy is to me. So I think it was the making of the second one, Matrix Reloaded, where Trinity is she's falling down from this building, and she's shooting at an agent that's falling down after her, shooting at her. And I remember seeing how they did that on this dolly with the green screen. And in my mind, I up until that point, I always thought that everything that you saw on film was shot practically, right? So when I saw that, it pissed me off because I was like, whoa, wait. They didn't actually lower her down the side of a building and lower the agent down the side of the building like it could I couldn't compute it. So the movie was actually spoiled for me uh when I was watching it. I was watching over and over again. I've watched every film in that trilogy probably about 30 times each. Those are my movies. Like I love them. At least 30 times for the first one and probably about 15 to 20 for the second and third. But that's what got me into filmmaking. But yeah, I've been a cinematographer, videographer. Hate cinematography in terms of me actually doing it. I wanted to be a director, and I didn't know how to be a director, and so I'm going through the ringer of trying to get whatever job I can get. And being here in Atlanta, everybody and their mother is into filmmaking, music, or whatever. Like it's one of those things. Like there's someone is always into something here. So it kind of got this. It was this log jam, and that's when Georgia was starting to become like the second Hollywood, especially with Tyler Perry being down here and building up and all that stuff. So, I didn't really know how to get into it, but yeah, I kind of in terms of following it as a career, I kind of tripped into it because I went to Art Institute for animation. I love drawing. I've been drawing since I was a kid, and I got to that course. When I tell you, I didn't realize how tedious that was going to be, and laborious it was going to be in terms of drawing the same frame over and over and over, and then like have to meticulously move the. It sucked the love out of drawing for me. So after I finished that quarter, I switched over to the I wanted to be in filmmaking somehow, some way. So I was like, let me just see what cinematography is about. Got into it, and then that's how I found my love for editing and photography, all by just switching into that. And so I'm so into that, But yeah, I mean, the only thing I think I want to do with videography from now on is like documentaries. I don't want to get behind to do a movie or a show in terms of me sitting behind the camera or standing behind the camera or sitting in the director's chair. I don't want to do either one. I'm good.
I feel you. I have no ambitions either. Like,
Nah,
and I think that says a lot about the industry, to be honest.
yeah, it does. It does. I think it's one of those things that like you have a lot of ego and pride that's tied into that, and then a lot of backbiting and betrayal just within this little circle. It's like it's too much. So I'd rather be away from the full crowd and edit. I love editing, so I'd rather be on that side of production. But I think it's good to know various angles so that you're able to watch different things. So like when you're watching a show or watching a movie, you're seeing different things and you're coming from different perspectives to be able to pick up on different things to see, oh, this might be how they're progressing the story, right? Like that's my angle with it. I actually look at everything from the audience perspective when I'm creating. So it humbles me in a way that I don't think that a lot of other people that don't look at it that way are able to be humbled. So that's kind of like my story in a short little spiel.
No, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool to hear obviously both of your perspectives. Like I said, I've never gone to film school. I don't intend on going to film school, but obviously to hear, your experiences and sort of how that sort of motivated you to at least be involved with movies in general it's actually really cool. Really cool.
Like
Yeah.
honestly, if
But
us
a
three,
little more about
like
you
if
guys.
we decided, like let's write a screenplay and make a movie. Like nothing will make me happier than to do that. Like as far as the
Yeah.
short film, like not needing 50,000 people and like it being
Yeah.
a production, like that
Mhm.
that side of it, I would
Yeah.
always welcome any projects like with friends and things
Oh,
like
for
that.
sure. Oh, for
But
sure.
like the idea of doing this every day, like for the
Yeah.
rest of your life, bro,
Wh-
fuck that.
Look.
We can spend an hour, I would imagine, plus just
Yeah.
talking about nightmare scenarios that like you talk about it, and it's like
Hmm.
this shit don't even make sense. Like why
It
did I
doesn't.
allow this to happen? Like
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
So
Well, did you see what James Cameron just came out and said? Because
no,
Avatar the sequel is coming out next well, Jesus, is that next week or week after? It's sometime in the next two
it's in
weeks.
between. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
and I'm excited too. But I mean, that's been what 13 years in the making.
Mhm.
But he literally just said that like he could go on to I think make like 7 or 8 more. But the problem is he doesn't believe that one, I don't think he feels like he's gonna live because that's what 13. You can't do 13 years between every film. So I highly doubt he lasts to see 7 or 9 unless he tapped into one of those avatars somehow, some way. But
That Tom Brady package.
yeah, that
And
TB12 method, baby. But he was saying that he thinks he's gonna have to train a director on how to direct the series moving forward if it's going to last that long, because it's such a vast project and undertaking. Like, I don't see.
Film-
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say bold of him to assume that it's gonna last beyond 4
Uh,
if he's lucky.
I'm
Um,
honestly three. I think
Respect.
3 to 5 is fine. Like, you don't need to go. We've seen this with the Fast and
Yeah.
Furious series, right? You don't need to drag a series on unnecessarily, because it kind of like makes the film lose its luster. I would have actually been fine with Avatar just staying as a single project. Like, I didn't think that we needed the sequels, but
Sure.
seeing what he's done, behind the scenes and everything like that, it makes me appreciate what's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. My girlfriend and I are going to see that opening weekend, so I'm excited about that. But that's I don't know. I think because you see Indiana Jones is coming out, I think the top of the year as well. Like, do you think that this is an issue with filmmaking, like Hollywood recreating or trying to drag out something that came along, or are you fine with that?
Well, actually, something I'm definitely curious about too, and I think Chris is gonna answer is like, so Chris, from your response earlier, have you watched the first Avatar?
Yes.
Okay, and then do you think it necessitated a sequel?
No, not at all. Not at all. And to
Yeah.
answer the question, I feel like my general response is, at the end of the day, filmmaking now is a business. Filmmaking isn't
Yeah.
about the reasons why we as
Yeah.
filmmakers were excited to make movies.
Yeah.
It's about making money, and I think that's why you see remakes of you get the Buster movie and all these different things that are like,
Yeah.
why and why did you think this was necessary? And it's all just like a money grab. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to shit on people. Tell your stories. Like, if it inspires you and then you can get it sold, like, who am I to tell you otherwise, right? You're the one that figured it out. You're the one
Yeah.
that's making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, I feel like there's a much bigger space for original ideas and the potential of that versus trying to constrain yourself within a set of ideas that already exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
I
that's
mean,
how I feel about it.
that's the thing though. Independent films, I don't think they get that shine that they necessarily need to get, because you have a whole host of films that are amazing that will likely never see the light of day in terms of like the big screen, right? Like, um I'm having a tough time because I think that there are certain stories that can be retold. Um have you guys seen Spirited on Apple TV? Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet.
I didn't know that was a musical. Like, going into it, I'm thinking we're just seeing a movie. Mariah and I watched it a couple weeks ago, and it was this thing where, like, the beginning of the movie, it's song after song after song after song, right? And I was kind of like, yeah, we might need to turn this off because I can't handle this. I couldn't even watch Hamilton, bro. Like, 20 minutes in, I cut that thing off. But it died down, and then I started seeing that it was what it was. It was like a retelling of um of a story we already know, Christmas story we already know, which is Scrooge. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I think I'm actually okay with retellings like that, that are kind of like an original perspective. It's not an original story, but it's just an original perspective, right? I'm actually cool with something like that versus stretching out what was into now what is. Like, it's too much of, like, going back and trying to like, you see, we ran into this issue with Star Wars. We ran into this issue with the Matrix, actually. Um, uh, and then you got
Great
Fast
last
and
movie.
Furious. I'm still pissed at the Wachowskis for that, man. Because that like, it's like ruining what was and not really giving your all to what you're trying to do. And I felt like they, like, well, actually, I think one of the sisters weren't on there. It was just, I think it was just Lana Wachowski that made the film, but it was like, it's just trash. I'm over it. But even with that, it kind of ruins the original film, right? Like, and that's why I'm kind of nervous with Hollywood. Is like that's the direction that we're going to end up going to even more. But I kind of feel like even with like streaming platforms, um, especially like Netflix and Apple, those, I think those platforms actually give excuse me, give independent filmmakers the biggest, what's the opportunity to tell their stories. And Matt and I have talked about this a couple times, Chris, but Apple TV right now, I think they're like in year 3, but right now all their programming top notch. Like I don't think I've seen one film or show on there that has not hit. They are all hits, and
Wow.
there's a lot of original stories on there. They there's a show on there called C with Jason Momoa. If you guys have not watched that, please check it out. Please check it out. I think that's in terms of, I told you this, Matt, but like in terms of fight choreography, I think the best projects that I've seen with fight choreography has been C and Daredevil on Netflix. So that's two blind characters that have the best fight choreography, and I don't understand what that is. I don't get what that is, but they do it so well. And as a filmmaker, Chris, I think you would actually like, you would appreciate certain techniques that's in there with the tracking shots and everything.
Mhm.
Chef's kiss, chef's kiss. They do an amazing job with that. So yeah, I don't know. I think I don't even know where I was going with all this, but I think that it's good
Yeah,
to
bro.
kind of like get into all that, because like, there's certain things that like we're seeing, especially like Matt, with you being in the audience perspective, just as a consumer, and us behind the scenes type of perspective. I think it's good to get the discussion going of like what you like to see and everything like that. But real quick, let me ask you guys this though: what are your favorite genres in film or TV?
That's tough, dude. That's tough. I
Yeah.
would say for me, I would say like psychological thrillers are my thing.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
once again, getting to that place. So I
Yeah.
think 1899, the show we're going to talk about a little bit later for this episode, that's a big part about why I really enjoyed the ride. Just like being a part of that and the way suspense is built in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that obviously comedy and stuff like that, those are timeless. But like
Yeah.
as far as like movies that stick out to me, I would say psychological thrillers.
Yeah. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I would say definitely dramas. Particularly they can incorporate comedy the right way, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I think like I said, a prime example is Barry on HBO. If you haven't
Oh
seen that
yeah, I
show, it
still
is
need to check that
without
out.
question one of the best offerings on television and will go down as one of the best TV shows I've ever watched. And Derrick, you know as well as anybody, Chris, you probably know as well as anybody, I can be very critical at times.
Yeah.
And for me to, praise something to that degree, um, obviously it's kind of like take my word for it and then form your own opinion type of thing. But no, it's phenomenal in that regard, and maybe sci-fi too, depending on. Oh, yeah, of course, I have to say sci-fi. I mean, I'm still watching Marvel and DC and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but when it's done like with a mature setting, like Dark on Netflix, that's a fantastic show. None of you have ever watched it. Coincidentally, same creators as 1899, which we'll be discussing shortly here. But um, yeah, yeah. So
But
all that to say, drama and sci-fi.
yeah, I think I'm a mix of what y'all said, because psychological thrillers amazing. I need you know what, my favorite. I'm not even gonna say if I'm gonna say a genre. I think if a film or a show can hold my attention and get me guessing, like if I'm not looking at it from a technical perspective, but I'm looking at it as just an audience member, you've done your job. like if I'm not being taken out on the technical errors, if I'm not sitting there and just kind of like criticizing certain things, and I'm literally just drawn in, that's the reason why I don't like watching trailers, because I don't want the story ruined. And that's why I like, for me, excuse me, it's the same thing between music and movies. I love stories. So if you have a great story on your project, I am going to be hooked. And I think that I think honestly that's somewhat what's missing with a lot of stuff that's been coming out from Hollywood lately. That's why I think the independent films kind of, you know what, I hate saying this, but I kind of understand where, excuse me, because I didn't think about this until just now. But it was Quentin Tarantino and why's his name blanking on me? Another filmmaker that just came out and criticized, as they have been for the last, I don't know how many years, criticized the Marvel universe in their films, saying they're not real films. And I want to say I somewhat understand where they're coming from, and it's because I think it's because of the story aspect, which I don't, which leads you to show that they're not really paying attention to
The
those
audience.
films anyway. They're not paying attention to those films at all. There's no way they are if you're hating on the story aspect of it. But I think that might be the old school aspect that they're discussing, is like the story without a fictional superhero. I think that might be where they might be leaning a little more toward. I don't agree with them, but I understand where they're coming from. But I need that type of story, and I think, like, we'll kind of get into 1899 in a second, but that's what I was kind of thrown off with this series, is the story aspect, because I like to sit and guess. I like to like wonder what's about to happen, but it feels a little anticlimactic when you don't really get there, like you
Sure.
know. And I think that's my issue with a lot of stuff that's been coming out lately, is that I think some projects don't hit that mark, which is like they pay attention to one aspect of the project and not the storytelling aspect of it to connect dots.
Yeah, and a lot of it is predicated on follow-up seasons to really expand upon,
Yeah, that's my
some of
problem.
the
I don't
elements
like
they
that.
introduced.
I don't
Dark
like that.
is, and again, either I said in the beginning of this podcast, but Dark is made by the same people who made 1899. And so I can go more in depth about that series, and obviously, share my opinions on what I think thus far about 1899. But like, um, I, I think series like that in general are tough, because when you're building a mystery, the two biggest things you don't want to do is, one, you don't want your audience to get impatient. And then the second thing is, you also, what's it called? Like, you don't want to reveal too much right out of the gate, because then it defeats the purpose of why you're investing, let's say in this case, 6-7 hours of an entire season, you know. So it's tough. It's in that regard, but like, I don't know. I think in the realm of, I think even like what you were saying before too, is, in the realm of, superhero movies or just franchises in general, it is refreshing to like have a show that really takes its time and, forces you to think, right? And obviously has a larger message to tell.
Well,
You often don't see that these days, and it's refreshing.
yeah,
It's refreshing, at least.
yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and take a break real fast, and then when we come back, we'll get into the 2022 Netflix original series, 1899. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Dwayne from Past the Ox and Life's a Botch podcast. I'm coming to you with a real dope advertisement if you got a moment. Can we do that? Peep this. Yo, you tired of that uncomfortable feeling with your undergarments? You know what I'm talking about. Like, literally having to adjust so it gets real comfortable in between the, the real safe space. Or maybe just wedgies from just going underneath, you know what I mean? All that. Let's keep it in 100. Y'all know how I'm feeling. Y'all know how that feeling goes. Well, I want to introduce to you the ultimate solution coming from the #1 premium and fit athletic wear just for you. I'm talking about none other than Champ #1 Boxers. Champ #1 Boxers is a black-owned underwear brand, okay? They literally specify in giving you the most top-notch, high-quality, premium, adjustable, and fittable, and totally comfortable undergarment wear that is just for you. Not only is it something that you can wear, feel good in, feel confident in, and love, but it's also high quality, feels good, and most importantly, it is definitely fashionable, okay? Comes in a different, wide variety of so many different styles and themes to these undergarments. Something to make you look good, feel good, and swag real good in the process, all right? So, again, did I get to mention that this is also a black-owned brand? It's a black-owned brand, y'all, so if nothing else, definitely go support that 100%. So, what I want to do is I want to tell you, head on over to OTS Media Co. on all social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. If you go over, you click the link in the bios, it'll take you straight to the Champ #1 Boxers website. You can check out all their styles, you can check out their bundle deals, you can check out why this brand exists, what it's all about, and trust me when I say you do not want to miss out on the types of opportunities going on right now on the site. Champ #1 Boxers. Make sure you do it for the champ in your life if you ain't already doing it for yourself, champ. All right? Champ #1 Boxers. Make sure you go cop those. All right? All right.
Welcome back, guys. We're going to go ahead and get into our discussion for the Netflix series, 2022 series, 1899. Written and directed by Baron Bo Odar. So, Matt, go ahead and give the synopsis to the people real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming from meaww.com, 1899 revolves around a migrant steamship heading west to leave the old continent from London to New York. The passengers, a mixed bag of European origins, are united by their hopes and dreams for the new century and their future abroad. I will go outright and say that synopsis does not remotely do this show justice, because if you are expecting a straightforward journey of immigrants looking to reach the new world, you will be greatly mistaken, and for good or for bad. So, yeah, it's where do we start?
Yeah,
This is the question.
Okay, here's a good spot because you guys didn't finish the whole series. So let me just ask you this real quick. What were your first initial impressions of the series? Chris, let's start with you.
You want to take it from there, Chris?
Right. Yeah, of course. So the reason why off the bat, like the entire pilot, I was all in, and just to say it like this, I really enjoyed the pilot, right? But once we got past the pilot, now we're having some problems, right? But I would say what I really enjoyed about the pilot is like the idea, and I heard Quentin Tarantino talk about this, so I don't want to steal his words, but basically like you have this rubber band, right? And you want to get it to a point where like you feel like, oh, it's about to break as far as the suspense of understanding what's going on. But you want to hold it there like as long as you can. And I feel like that pilot episode really did that for me because of the way all the characters were introduced. Another good way that a lot of filmmakers put it is like you want to enter in late and you want to leave early, and that's how it was in the pilot. Like you are thrust right into the situation. You're following the protagonist Mary around, and you don't know why she's there. It seems she's a tortured soul. Like you don't understand exactly what's going on, and then the way the entire episode plays out, you get to meet a lot of different characters and get an idea of who they are, but you don't really understand why you're there still. So what I really liked about it though is like there wasn't a lot of I would imagine most of this is not practical cinematography, but it's really well done in the way that very reminiscent almost to The Shining. Like once you're inside, like you are part of it, right? Like you're trapped on this experience and we're all going together, right? And as these things are unfolding, right, you're learning about what society is like at this time through the experience. Like you have no idea what's going on. and then you're getting an idea, a very brief idea of what these people all are here for and what their deal is, but it's very topical, right? And then shit just hits the fucking fan, right? The further we go along this journey. So early on, I felt it. I'm like, man, this is really good. Like, I like the way they're giving me this information. I like the way I'm learning about these characters, giving me just enough to care to continue watching. And then shit just started happening, right? We bring a baby in. We got a little dude in a cabinet that we find. And then all hell breaks loose. Enter the Bermuda Triangle and all this crazy shit that is hard to even really explain. This honestly, where I'm up to in the series, it reminded me of a movie. I hope this is the exact name. It's called Cabin in the Woods, where like you're watching this movie, and the first half, like you think you're watching this movie, but then by the end, you're watching something else, and you're just like, "What the fuck did I just watch?" Like that's how I felt after we got past episode 1. Like I'm like, how do we start here and how are we here? So please carry on, whoever feels free.
Matt, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so that was a great summary there, Chris. Chris, shit hits the fan, and that it does. Well, look, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the creator of the show. Dark is without question one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And, I think you look at the pilot episode, I think it does a great job of really definitely establishing the main character being Mara Franklin. Sort of alluding to this relationship with her brother. And obviously, really like honed in on why she's on the ship to begin with, right? Like, where is the journey to lead her? Like, why is she like she's honestly looking to locate her brother, etc. Obviously, you have the captain sort of wrestling with his own inner demons, particularly after spoiler, after his wife and children died in a house fire. But there's also all these different references to the Bermuda Triangle, right? I mean, you obviously see like you had the French woman who had the triangle earrings. You have the priest who has the triangle beard. You obviously had the triangle tattoo on the back of the boy's neck. The triangle right behind. So there's always everything's very specific to that point. Obviously, so with me only having watched the first 3 episodes, obviously it's gonna really like get more and more out of control. But the first episode was definitely effective. It was suspenseful. It sort of made you guess, and obviously the ending itself, paired with some very very good music choice in my opinion, made you wonder how on earth did a boy survive in that cabinet for so long. With that being said, and this is just me warning you ahead of time, for anybody who is looking for a very fast-paced show, very like it's something that you expect to be over in like an hour, like maybe an hour's time. Yeah, you're not getting that here. If you've watched Dark on Netflix, every episode is very long. Episodes are very long, and they require a lot of patience to sit through, but you're rewarded with a great story. So my concern with this show is it suffers the same issues as season 1 of Dark, at least from what I can tell, is I can guarantee you it's going to end. This is me guessing. I'm assuming it's going to end on a point where it very literally relies on a season 2 and a season 3 to make season 1 worthwhile. And to people who don't like that sort of decision, like they don't like that decision, they're going to be in exactly right, because it's risky, because right, you're banking on the success of the first season, and if people don't like the first season, they're not going to want to sit through. They're going to sit through another 7+ hours of what the hell is this? I myself didn't mind. Yeah. So it's Like I said, it's an interesting show. It has its imperfections here and there. Um, Pacing is one of the. I just think it's just suffering the same as just season one. It feels aimless. It's like it wants to do so much,
Mm-hmm.
and it wants to do this, it wants to do this and this and this, and until we get a season 2 and a season 3, which I'm assuming, don't call me on this, I'm assuming there's like a 3-season plan, or at least I'm basing it off of how Dark concluded and everything, right? Everything's going to be satisfied because you sort of know, oh, now I see how they connected this character to this character. Oh, now I see because they had this single piece of dialogue back in season 2, episode 2. It connects back to season 3, episode 7. Things like that. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it's like I said, it's grisky. You know what I mean? So that's sort of, sorry about that. I rambled again, but
You good, bro? You
that's
good.
sort of why.
So let me ask you all this, because I finished the series. Do you want me to tell you what's going to happen, or do you want to just find out for yourselves?
I think I'd like to find out. I think I'm still interested enough to watch.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, me too. Like, I mean, I'm assuming, is it? Can I give like a prediction? I mean, you guys obviously don't confirm as yes or no. And episode 2, obviously. Well, it very obviously like someone's watching over them. So episode 2 literally showed that how the camera pan out from the TV screen and everything. They're definitely like a simulation.
See,
it's what I'm guessing. I don't, or for all we know, it can be, I don't know. It can be anything at this point. But that's what it's either a simulation or it's like a TV show. Or, I don't know, like that, or it's like a TV show inside of a TV show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what was that movie that Jim
sort of
Carrey?
thing. The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Yeah, that's hilarious. I haven't seen that one in years.
Or stuff like that. Which actually, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty dope though. If that were the case. It was like a Truman Show type thing where like people have been like on a set for like God knows how long. That would be pretty crazy. But like I said, how Dark was, I'm assuming they're gonna lean into some like more sci-fi elements.
And the way you feel, real quick, so I could give my quick prediction.
Yeah.
I cannot understand how you're convicted in that without being someone that hasn't watched Dark, because as I'm watching this show, I never felt like, especially up to this point, like I have any grasp on where the show is going. Like I feel like
I never
all of these things are so random that like I couldn't even firmly be able to tell you what I think's gonna happen, because at this point, all of that shit has not been happening. So I'm surprised you feel that convicted. I'm interested to see more, to see if I see that side of it. But for me, I'm just more so like, I'm convinced that the story is really about, like, in a cheesy way, like everyone finding their worth, and to their own selves first, and then to the greater society after. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. But as far as what's gonna happen, like I won't be surprised if by the end of the series we're like in a water city or something like completely different than what I'm watching right now, like Cabin in the Woods, where you think you're watching one thing, and then at the end it's like, I didn't sign up for this shit. Like respectfully, like what is this?
So, and I hate doing this. I really do, because again, I have to watch like the rest of the series and everything. But based on what I saw from Dark, it like the concept of the show was easy to. I'm trying to find a way to say this. It's like, so so spoiler alert, it's a time travel show, so to speak. So basically like there are 3 different timelines, but they're all 33 years apart, basically, in the show. Like I said, sorry, I'm not trying to confuse 1899 between Dark. So they follow 3 different timelines, and there are points in the show where a character from like, oh yeah, talking about Dark. There's 3 different timelines,
bro. You threw me way off. I'm gonna say what?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like there are 3 different timelines, and like the larger point is basically like how actually both series so far have like had this very like introspective aspect to them, right? Like where do people like Chris Chris's point, like how do people find their self-worth? Like what is our true purpose in life? Things like that. Um a 9-year-old kid is the father of the main character.
That's a mind fuck right there.
I don't even know how that's even possible.
That's why I'm just gonna simplify it like that. That's the kind of stuff you come to expect. And it's like that's why like I'm so
that sounded so pedophilish.
Why did you have to bring it there? I didn't get that at all.
Because that just
I mean, do you want to go into detail? You want to go detail about it, or
no, I'm
not
good.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang, what? Yeah, that's a weird. So,
back to 1899 predictions.
Yes. Anyways, but anyways, like to sort of harken back to, I guess I wasn't really bringing up a point. I was just kind of just saying like the absurdity of Dark, and then crashing in here is like that's why I said like the whole simulation thing, because I know like Dark is an incredible show through and through, but they did some crazy shit in that show. That's why I'm anticipating like something like out of the blue. You know what I mean? And that's why like I'm actually surprised they did what they did in the end of episode 2, like when they showed the TV screens. Like I was very surprised. I'm like, you know what I mean? That the first thing that got my mind was just one of two things. They're pulling the Truman Show, so a TV show within a TV show, or it's like a simulation. So if it's the latter, right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna satisfy that. I don't know. I could be wrong. Probably, you know, Chris. I'm gonna go back to your point. They're probably in an underwater city with with Aquaman, and they're about the Superman's about to pop up, and Vin Diesel. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, this show.
So I'm not gonna ruin
show's
anything.
good, but damn.
I'm not gonna ruin anything for y'all. But I think for the reasons that I didn't finish Dark was reasons as to why I didn't fully enjoy this. Like there were technical aspects of this that I enjoyed, like the transitions between memory and reality.
So dope.
Amazing. Like visually, that was appealing. Like really, very well done. But there's
you mean like the opening thing?
Yeah, yeah. Like how when at the beginning of the episode you'll see that there is something going on,
like a quick spin.
Wake up. Yeah, it's a quick spin and wake up.
Ooh, okay. I got you.
I loved it. That was amazing. But there are a lot of questions that I still have even being done that I would love to discuss with you guys at a later point. But let me ask you this real quick, because and then like Chris, you have something you want to get into, so I don't want to take up too much time. But when this show first started, I found it very interesting that my settings, I'm not sure if this is not just Netflix in general or this is just what mine was on, but it was English with the dubbed English. So for any of the anyone that wasn't speaking English, of course you have people that are dubbing their lines. Did you guys switch it to just English and listen to their actual language, their native languages on there? So the I think there was one lady that spoke Cantonese, someone else that spoke German, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or French. I'm sorry, it was French, Cantonese, and English. I think those are the 3 languages they used in here.
Spanish as well.
Spanish, thank you. Yeah. Spanish is 4. Did you guys keep it for that, or did you put it on dubbed?
I'm mad because mine started dubbed and I didn't even know that that was an option. Like that's really
Yeah.
cool, and I would have loved
Yeah.
to seen that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I saw all those interactions, but they played out in English, and I was
Yeah.
wondering why did it look so weird. So that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. I just
I
switched it.
I did the original because I watched all of Dark in German. This with subtitles.
Oh,
That's
okay.
deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's commitment right there. I respect that.
That is.
And that's a show you need to pay attention. Damn sure you're reading the hell out of those subtitles. It makes you
Yeah.
picking up on those
Yeah.
pieces of
Yeah.
dialogue.
Is
But
that something you guys like doing? Watching films or TV shows that have subtitles? Because I know there's one thing we if you're not, you're missing like a whole other
Inflections, everything.
level.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm just in terms of filmmaking in general, you're missing a lot because there's other stories of like in like with Bollywood, right? Like if you wanted to get into Bollywood films or any German films or British, right? Like you're not watching them because you're going to have to read subtitles. Is that something you guys like to do, or is that something you mind with watching things subtitles or no?
I honestly feel like it depends. Like I feel like
Yeah.
most of the time I enjoy, like especially when dubs, like when the dub is just ass, like it's nowhere near being
Yeah,
close to the real experience, that it takes you out of it. Like once
it
again,
does.
something that you mentioned earlier, um because you know filmmaking, you're like that is dub, like
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah, yeah.
And that feeling does take you out. So I do like to read subtitles, but at the same time, when it's so heavy, like when it's so much going on, then
Yeah.
I'd rather take my hands off and just listen to the dub version.
Listen
So
to
I
the
feel like
dub.
it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I would prefer the original language. I've watched a whole bunch of different foreign films,
Yeah.
and I'd rather that because now I'm understanding it from the way it was intended, right?
Right, right.
But I feel like even reading some things, some stuff can be lost as well. But a good example of a show that I really liked watching in Spanish was Money Heist. I don't know if you guys have checked that out on Netflix,
Mm-mm.
but really cool show. One of those shows that you could kind of sit back and just enjoy. Like you don't got to think
Mm-hmm.
about it too much. Like it's not a cinematic marvel in that way, but it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
really cool story. And hearing them speaking Spanish, you get so much more than the dub version. Even though the dub is actually pretty well done,
Mm-hmm.
just them being in Spain because it's based in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they speak each individually is very different in the English dub versus the original, and I really like the original. So
Okay. What about you, Matt?
yeah, I'm definitely the same way. I think s- for me, I would just get distracted by the lip syncing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That would take me out of the experience right away. Um, I think really the only exception to the rule would be animes. Um, More often than not, the original language is far better. I know when I watch all of Attack on Titan, for instance, I went straight to dub. It's also one of those shows that's very action oriented, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be like looking down subtitles when like a really cool set piece is happening,
Missing something.
and stuff like that.
That's my fear with
I
subtitles.
have, yeah, there have been a few times where like I will go back and watch some of the best moments in the series, in the original Japanese language, just
Mhm.
to sort of compare and contrast like the line delivery because it's obviously much different, and things like that. But yeah, that's sort of. But generally speaking, out of respect to the filmmakers um and again, obviously Chris is bringing a lot of great points to the table today. It's like, you sort of you know want to know like what the filmmaker intended and things like that. So yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Well, Chris, switch it over to the English version and you'll get the aspect you're talking about because like it's a great balance between all languages. So it's kind of it doesn't take you out in terms of being able to understand like watching it. That's been my whole thing is I with subtitles, I feel like I'm reading a lot more than I'm actually watching the action. And I feel like that's what takes me out of it sometimes. But then, of course, with dubbed, like y'all mentioned, syncing and it's horrible. So I don't like it either. But yeah. So I guess we will do a part 2 for 1899, or maybe in another episode we'll revisit 1899 as part of that episode and get into that. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for that discussion. But real quick, Chris, you said you had a question, man. Let's go ahead and get into that.
Yes, sir. So you guys do a film podcast. I do not care that you haven't shot any films yourself, Matt. I think that makes you a different level of movie watcher than the average
Yes.
person.
Yeah.
My question for you guys is, Matt, for you as someone that's just really gung ho about production in general, like, do you feel like your journey in enjoying film and filmmaking has changed the way that you watch movies, and how do you feel about that change? And then for you, obviously the same question, but as far as you being a filmmaker yourself.
Yeah. Wow.
You want to go first, Derek? Kind of have to
It's
think of
deep,
that.
right?
That's
It's
a very
deep.
like
Yeah.
deep existential
Yeah.
question. Kind of have to.
I think in
gotta
terms
think.
of actually watching it, like I said earlier, it made me pay attention to different details. So for example, uh House of the Dragon. Matt, I know you watched that. Did you watch that, Chris?
No.
There is it's a scene. You've probably seen it trending, but there was a scene where this man's I'm not going to tell you in case you do actually watch it, but there's a character whose finger, I believe, was at this point I believe it's supposed to be like withering away or something like that, but you can actually see that it was a green glove, the for the hand. You're supposed to be able to put that on to replace digitally. Um, and of course, that was left in. HBO has had a habit of, let me not say HBO, Game of Thrones show leaders have had a habit of leaving different things in the shot that's on the finalized version that they then have to go back after its air date. They have to go back and fix so that when it was on the platform, you're not seeing that. So I think little things like that, from a production aspect, that's when I'm watching something, my eyes are keen on what's the mistake, right? So different oh, Mariah and I were watching, I'm not sure if you guys watched this because I have not seen it at all. But Rihanna's Fenty Savage Fenty model show. She has a show where she shows her line um in a very unique way. And Mariah has suggested we watch it. I was like, yeah, I don't mind watching it. So we sat down and watched it, and I didn't know this is actually like a fashion show. Well, I'll put it like this. I thought it was gonna be a fashion show, but I didn't know it was gonna be production value to it. So the whole thing is like telling the story of different characters and in a unique way, showcasing her clothing line, her undergarments and everything like that, right? And there was one shot where the camera tracked this one dancer, and it was in front of a light. So of course the whole shadow of the camera and the boom arm is cast onto the dancers, and I was like, no, like that's not supposed to happen. Like and so like different things like that. Like when I'm watching something, I'm pretty sure I've gotten on her nerves a little bit sometimes with different critiques like that. Like I'm hoping I haven't, but I'm pretty sure calling things out, I probably ruined something for her in a moment. But there's certain things where like I'm watching something and I'm seeing these little things and I'm calling it out, and so I think working behind scenes has allowed me to see that, and it irritates me. So I'm pretty sure when I'm watching something with anyone else, if I'm calling something out, then yeah, I'm pretty sure it gets annoying. But it's a hard habit to break, because when you're standing behind the scenes and watching people shoot and block, and you're seeing all the time that it takes to go into doing something like that, when you're watching bigger productions, like hello, like
There's no excuse.
there's no excuse. Like who's with the director? Well, first off, who is the director? Secondly, who is the AD?
Who's the script
Who's
supervisor?
the script
How are you not
supervisor?
seeing
Like
this? That's your
it's-
job, bro.
that's exactly what your job is to be, is to spot these little moments, right? And then, hey, reshoot. Because like, especially for like the Game of Thrones showrunners, I know it's cost them money to go back and digitally fix certain things, you know what I'm saying? And those are costly mistakes. Like, it's not even like the last season of Game of Thrones, there were multiple episodes where Starbucks coffees were in the shots, or people are just not on the proper mark. Like, it was lazy. I've never seen something that costs so that costs so much be done so poorly. The execution,
it was so sad.
what-
like
and it was
the potential.
Yeah. Yo, what do we have extra 100K lying around for?
yeah.
It's like, oh shoot,
Why not?
My
Why not? Let's
fault.
just waste this.
My fault.
So I don't know. I think in terms of being in production and watching something, that's my thing, especially from an editing perspective as well. Like, I don't want to be taken, if there's certain things, because like when you're shooting something, a lot of times your shot's going to be a lot longer than what's actually in the final production, right? And there are a lot of editors that leave a scene way too long. And I'm like, there's certain times where I'm watching certain things, I'm like, yeah, y'all could have cut that, cut it, and they leave it for another extra like 5 seconds or whatever. There were a couple of episodes I saw in House of the Dragon that were like that, where I was like, yeah,
I got some fat to trim.
they have a lot of fat to trim, and I love the show. Like, I love the show, but there are certain things that I feel like they could have done better, right? And I think that it's one of those things where certain filmmakers or showrunners get a little lazy or lackadaisical. Like,
And real quick,
resting on your laurels.
before you go, Matt, I just wanted to say, because it's not because I don't want to watch the show. Funny enough, I wish I wasn't using it to hold up my laptop right now, but I'm actually reading the history of the Targaryens book.
Are you serious?
Yes, so that's why I'm waiting. So until I'm done, I can't wait. I'll show you on TSG next time we record. I'll just show you the book, because it's so dope. I got the picture version as well, so it's like, I'm a child. Like, it's literally a picture book with the story of the entire Targaryen lineage. So that book I actually have all the Game of Thrones books, but I haven't read them yet. And the reason why I'm starting with this book is because that's the one that's in the past. So if you want to get it chronologically, that's where you start. So I'm actually in the middle of reading that right now, and that's why I haven't started. So I'm so pumped. I'll show you that next time too, because it's so dope. Like, it is
How
so
long
dope.
is it?
It's 300 something pages, and then that's including photos as well.
Okay.
But the other ones are much longer, like, because obviously they're not photo books, but it's bigger. But for Matt, what about you, man?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I'll preface this by saying I will never be an expert at filmmaking, nor will I ever develop the skills to make a movie or TV show, or
hold on, man.
Don't limit yourself.
Hold on. Let me stop you real quick. To be honest, you like that. It shocks me you're not in filmmaking, because there are a lot of things that you've discussed on the show already that from a filmmaker's perspective, you're hitting it right on. So you're selling yourself short. I think you're selling yourself short, to be completely honest. All due respect.
Well, I appreciate,
because
I appreciate you for saying that.
I think you come from a phenomenal perspective that filmmakers should come from.
That they generally don't. So I agree.
Yeah, and there was stuff you said earlier in this episode that I'm like, how the hell did you caught exactly some of the things that I picked up on at the tail end. So yeah, trust me, you're on. You're seeing things the way you need to see them. So
no,
continue. I'm sorry.
I appreciate. No,
we're not gonna let you humble brag on this show.
Yeah,
we're gonna make sure you. Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I appreciate you guys, but no, you're all good. You're all good. But no, I guess like in general, like I think I really love talking about movies. I think really as of late, I just been so mentally drained that committing to whether it be a TV show or just even a 2 hour long series is so exhausting. So I'm really just now I'm just looking forward to at least having a spare time and really just going back to what I love doing. That's just watching movies. I sort of like being transported into different worlds, and you know, I will always be critical. That's the guy's honest truth. I don't do it you know for the fun of it. No, I did do it for the do it for the fun of it. I'll be honest, but so, most of the time it was like obviously to mess with people. Like I'll purposely like point out something that's so obscure. And they'd be like, seriously, like you're really knocking off a point because of that, sort of thing. But no, I just I just think that like I said, it's just astonishes me like how films are made. Seeing the behind the scenes on different projects is great as well, but also hearing like actual commentary from directors on like how they intended to light certain scenes, how they really want to act, like actors to hit their marks. And again, that's why I really love Barry so much. Is it's one of the few TV shows out there where I myself like I was only recently exposed to like interviews with Bill Hader, and he would discuss like certain scenes in detail. Like he would discuss, okay, like where's his character's mental state? Oh, well, I remember I told, such and such, that you have to make sure that you hit your mark like right there because the camera's gonna stop. And then the problem is that if you go too far back, you're submerged in darkness. We had to do it again. So yeah, it's just like I don't know. I think like now, like more than ever, I'm picking up on more things and trying to pick up on more things at least. And this like I said, I think this podcast has given me a great opportunity to at least watch movies that I probably probably would have never heard of, or even take the time to watch. I think most of the time it's just what's popular. There are a lot of popular movies I've never watched yet. Indiana Jones, I've never watched an Indiana Jones movie. I'll be honest with you.
Me either.
Oh, thank God. All right. Well, there you go.
No, don't worry about that.
Stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's sort of where I stand on that.
That's so dope. And the reason why I asked you guys is because just to give a brief overview as well. Like the first ever short film I saw to completion that I completed in 7th grade. So I've been doing this for a very long time. And when I did that with one of my best friends, still to this day, shout out my guy Matt. Funny enough, your name is Matt. But the film, it wasn't even like we have the story we want to tell. We was just learning how to like do things, right? And how things work. So the actual film, it's called The Great Race. It's hilarious. I showed it to you guys one day, but it's both he and I are the main characters, and the entire film is us racing, but it's in reverse. So it's shot backwards. So everything we do is like we had to do it the way we want to do it, front to back, back to forward. So like that being my first experience in filmmaking, it gave me exactly what you were talking about, Derrick, where that was the first. That's mind bending in the first place to like figure out that way, like how to, like it's so funny. There's like a part where like mid race we stop and we're like eating a pizza, but because it's in reverse, like we sit down at a table and then we like push the trash can is like on wheels. We pushed it away. So in reverse, the trash can comes to the table. We go like this above the trash can. A fucking piece of like a paper plate comes out of the trash can, and then we're both sitting here regurgitating a pizza, like until it's a full pizza. Like on the so when recording this, like it's a mind fuck to like understand like how to make a story. That's in reverse like that. So when I'm like throughout my entire time of filmmaking, actually for to make another long story short, when I was in the Ghetto Film School, it's basically an intensive film program for New York and LA students, where you're with a whole group of your peers. You're taught everything as far as filmmaking, what to do in the different roles. You'll do different projects in different roles, so you're not just starting off as one thing. And then at the end, you actually write a screenplay. Everyone reads each other's. We vote on the one we decide to shoot, and then we shoot that in location. So the year that I went, it was in A Coruña, Spain, and a big part of that is fishermen. So funny enough, the only screenplay I ever wrote took place on a ship. So when I'm watching this show, this is super dope for me. You know what I mean? Like this is all so to make it come full circle, as far as my filmmaking experiences, I wanted to mention that after I finished that ghetto film school program, I actually was an assistant teacher for 2 years right after. So when you're exposed to what you were talking about, Matt, just all the different ways that things are actually done, like something that I always tell people that always blows their mind is like, it's much harder lighting wise to do a scene that's dark than to do something that's bright. Because everyone is like, what do you mean? Like, you need more lights, you need all these things. I'm like, no. Like, it's like a fort of things in order to create the shadows that you're seeing. And like, it's there's flags that go up and it looks like literally like a fort. Like if you walk in and you see this, you're like, how the fuck, like what's on the screen versus what it looks like is two completely different things.
And then color grading on top of that.
Exactly. And that's why too, like something that you mentioned earlier when you was talking about the screenplay and like how you're fascinated by the screenplay. I say all this to say, like, I've seen how screenplays start and then how the actual story ends. And it's never the same. It's never anywhere near the same.
Not at all.
Like something we will always tell the students is like, you know, the story has multiple lives. And as as the director, your job is to keep it consistent throughout. But by the time it's edited, like that's a different story. That's like because of practical reasons, because of choices you make in the moment, things you feel, etc., that change when you're actually recording. So I say all this to say, for me, honestly, it changed my movie going experience in a way that personally, and I hope this doesn't sound like me being bougie, but personally, I don't like the way it's affected I watch movies. I agree with you 100%, Derrick. I'm annoying. My girl all the time is like, you're such a nerd, because all the time I'm like, you guys have all this money and I'm teaching students how to do this in a practical way. That I'm telling all these things that are rules, right? They're rules to me because it's secondhand at this point. But like, when you see that, like, I can't watch music videos, bro. Like it's like,
either. I mean,
Chris it's like Brown, junk food. Like it's.
I'll be honest, Chris Brown, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole. Those are only 3 artists that I've watched recently, whose music videos are just like almost on like point. Pretty much perfection.
A lot of the times it's like people that they're close to, like just figuring this shit out. And you're watching literally, like, I'm like, oh, that's a set of Kinos right there. They got some nice Kinos. Because you can see the whole light. Like, how did nobody notice this? So like a lot of the times I ask you guys because I want to hear your perspective, because for me, it's soured things for me. Like it's made me like I can't enjoy things the way like my girl will watch a show with me and we have a whole different experience. Like, and sometimes I don't even go into it before I ask her, because I don't want to do what you said. And I know she's never gonna listen to this, so that's why I don't mind saying this. But like, she's gotten me to like watch like reality TV shows with her now, and like what she doesn't understand is like I'm there for it tangentially, right? Like I'll probably do something in the background while we're watching it, but I'll have an idea. I know what's going on, but I can't bring myself to watch that. Like I really cannot, because it's just it's so wrong. Like to everything that you. People
that haven't been on sets of reality shows, I'm pretty sure they have it now, like in 2022, have an understanding that a lot of this stuff is scripted. But like,
you'll be surprised, by the way.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that don't. But I'm saying I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to a lot of audience members. I think a lot of them now know that is certain aspects are scripted. However, actually being on set of a reality show, I don't. That's why it's hard for me to watch those anymore. Like I just this year, the only one I've watched this year was Love Is Blind, and that's because my friend was
me too. Because my girl.
No
way, your friend is on it.
My friend Ayana on season 2. That's my childhood friend. Yeah,
that's insane.
And Mariah was watching season 3, and I came in on watching. I was like, let me just check it out, and I was like, I'm hooked.
The show's actually pretty good, like for reality TV show standards.
For a reality show, it is good. But there were moments of sitting there, I'm like, yeah, this is I don't know if it exactly happened this way, because there's certain things you could see. Yeah, they're manipulating the story into certain things. But yeah, I try to keep my mouth shut. Because even with that Savage Fenty show, I was like, this green screen. And I said it out loud, and once I said it, I was like, why the hell?
Why did I say that?
Why did you say that? Because you ruined it for her. And sure enough, she said, oh yeah, she could see certain things that I was talking about. And then as we were watching, you're like, oh yeah, most definitely it's green screen, because there's no way you can do the anime. And I was like, why did you just shut up?
Yeah, it's so instinctual.
Yeah, but it's
and I find myself getting mad. Like, bro, I get mad. Like, I really do. I'm like, this. If someone that has nowhere near I'm sure the biggest budget film I've been a part of was those thesis shoots, and I was not a privy to budget, right? This is above our heads. The teachers take care of that. But around 10K, right? Around 10K, that's the biggest budget films I've ever done. We don't make mistakes like that. Like,
no, you can't.
We do not. Yeah, because time is money, baby, and that's the reality of it. Like, the fact that can happen at all really blows my mind. Like, it's legit, because the amount of times I've gotten into, like, not altercations, right? But let's call it what it is. Like, there's been a lot of times on set where I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, how, like, are you awake? Like, take a break, because you're bugging. Like, for real.
Yes.
It's gotten to that level. So it's like, how on a bigger production where so much more is at stake, I can't figure that out.
But I agree with you on that.
There's 100% legitimacy to the idea that we are film snobs. We get the name for a reason, and it 100% is true. But like, unless, like, even as someone who really loves movies, Matt, like, I'm sorry if we're being annoying, kind of going back and forth on this, but like, even now, like, you just don't understand how frustrating it is.
It's really hard.
And you can't turn it off. Like, at this point, it's not a choice. And I would never change those. I would never change the fact that I had those experiences.
Yeah.
But like, I watch much less movies than I would have, I think, as being a filmmaker, honestly.
Me too. It's sad, but this is life. This is life. Yeah.
Can we end this off the only right way? I never asked you guys this. I haven't heard it on any show. What are you guys' favorite movie and why? What's the reason? I need one. You can't give me a list. I need one that you're gonna stand by.
Matt.
I mean, I usually, I'm not sure if you guys do this, but I differentiate the best movie I've ever seen versus my favorite movie I've ever seen.
Oh my God, that's another discussion. I don't even know what the best movie I've ever seen is.
So if we're doing like favorite, so I mean, I guess it'd either be
one.
Nightcrawler.
I need one.
Oh,
I need one.
Okay. Derrick, do you have an answer yet? Or you still thinking?
I'm just gonna say The Matrix.
That's fair,
because that got me into filmmaking. But
that's a mind fuck for you.
I grew up in a Christian household, and it took a long time for me to convince my dad to let me watch that movie. So once I was able to actually watch it, I think I was like 10, 11 years old. I dove in, bro. Like, I watched that movie over and over again. I still remember it was a VHS. It was a VHS where the cover was this like reflective type of print. The Matrix code was, I don't know where
that's fire.
Wow. That I if I could find that VHS, I would get it, and just to have it. Like, that was a beautiful movie. So yeah, I'll say The Matrix, but there's so many others I want to say.
Can I get out of it by doing a TV show?
Yep, that's fine.
Is that fine? Better Call Saul.
Wow,
Oh
nice. I love
yeah.
that
Okay.
show.
Okay.
I
Okay.
love that show. Yeah, that's
Okay.
a good one.
Better
What
than
about you,
Breaking Bad.
Chris?
Yeah, much better. Much better. Although I didn't like the last season, but we could talk about that another day.
I haven't watched the last season, so
That's great. That's even
gonna
better. That's even better. Keep that in mind when
gotta
you watch it. Let me know how you
Okay.
feel. But for me, I honestly, I'm interested to see if any of y'all even watched this movie. But my favorite movie is Requiem for a Dream, and every time I tell people
Oh,
that, they're like, "Bro, are you sick? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, are you good, bro?"
that is very disgusting, but I get what you're coming from.
Yeah, dude. It
Yeah.
the reason why I love that movie so much is because once again, going back to the feeling something, like
Yeah.
I never thought like fuck dare, bro. Like that is what you need to be showing kids as far as
Oh,
why you
for
should
sure.
not do drugs and like the effects of drugs on your life.
Yeah.
As I'm here high as fuck on bud. So shout out to the marijuana users. But like as far as like the reasons why I like that movie, like everyone will watch that movie and I've told people sometimes to watch it and they came back to me and they're like, "Bro, like why would you even put me through that?" And
Yeah.
that's why I really like it. Like because like I think more so like you can't get away with making a movie like that today, like the way that they did
Oh no,
it
you can't.
and
No.
at all. And like the things that they explore and the roles, like having a parallel storyline between an elderly woman who is addicted in her own way and
Ooh.
different characters that are friends with each other in the same age group that are addicted in different ways and it affects them in different ways
Oh,
and the way that they bring you into their life like you almost get to understand what it is to be an addict just by watching the movie
oh yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah.
love like those sequences where like they take you whenever they're drugged up and like it'll just take a step away from whatever they're doing and and then it'll come out
Yeah.
you'll see like them making the drugs and like what
Yeah.
that process is like and then you'll come back and Marlon Wayans is there getting it like
Yeah.
it's such a tripped out movie and it's
It is.
hard to watch like I will admit it's a mouthful it's not a movie you feel good about watching
Yeah.
afterwards
No.
but as far as like damn that was an experience like that
Hmm.
was that what they did what they sought out to do like
Yeah.
that's my answer.
Well, we old show that was under OTS, No Chase Film Society. I did that with a friend of mine, Chris Ali. We actually did a review on that film
That's so dope. I gotta
a
check
couple of
that
years
out.
ago. So I'll send you the link for that because I had a look at it, and that was 2019. So
Recent, have you seen it, Matt?
No, I was gonna say I do have my favorite movie. I do have my favorite movie. I just
There we
remembered.
go.
Uh, I think Whiplash.
Oh,
okay,
that's a really good
okay,
one.
that
That's
was
a
yeah,
really
yeah,
good
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. We did a review on that. Was like 2 months ago?
Do oh, do the stuff. This is a quick side note before we finish off here. But the comments he made towards Miles Teller. Oh my gosh, he
Yeah,
was brutal in that movie.
yeah, yeah,
That's all I'll say. Oh my god.
yeah. I
Oh
think
my
I
gosh.
think that was
Uh,
toward the end of the era of being able to say a lot of things like that on a film because you can't today. You're not able to. You're not going to be able to make a film today, at least mainstream, and get away with saying a lot of the stuff that was said in that movie. That movie.
oh
And I
yeah.
hate that it's
Like,
that
the
way.
movie's-
That's another reason you kind of fall out of it. Like it's like
Yeah. Oof.
I mean, certain things are untouchable today, don't get me
Yes.
wrong, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like how far are we gonna allow that to go? I'll leave it at that because that's a whole
The,
nother discussion
that
within
is a
itself.
whole other discussion. We and you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
come
yeah.
back. You have to come back because we'll have to.
Come back there?
We need to dive deep into that one because that's a good point.
Yeah.
But sadly, all good things must come to an end. But actually, not an end. We're not gonna say that. Not an end. We might just pause it. But real quick before we go, Chris, thanks again for joining the show. Let the people know where to find you and what else you got cooking up.
Thank you so much, dude. So yeah, you could check me out on Twitter at Negron MMA. I'm at 462, getting close to that 500, baby. Can't believe it. Oh, under a year ago, I was here
Under a
begging
year.
for 250.
Yeah.
And we're almost at 500 already. So thank you guys
Good
so much
job,
for
bro.
the support, man. It really means a lot. And just interacting with y'all too, like on a daily basis, and just having those random check-ins where like people I haven't spoken to in a while come back and they're like, yo, like, what's up? Like that is so dope. It means more than you'll ever really understand, more than I thought it would, at least. So thank you guys for that. You could also check me on IG at Chris Negron _. And of course, check out the Sideline Guys, me and Derrick. We're going to be
Sir.
making our triumphant return next week.
Yes,
and then,
sir.
of course, the MMA Archive, which I'm going to be doing an episode on Pride 3 coming out very, very soon. So look forward to all of that. And thank you again for having me on. This was a blast, you guys.
Yes, sir. Welcome back anytime, brother. Matt.
Yeah, my turn. Well, you know, you can find me Matt_T 29 over on Instagram. You can find me over at Week Be Heroes with my brother Jonathan, and of course you'll always be able to find me here over on Realist as well. But most importantly as well, thank you guys for your support. Chris, thank you for joining us. This was a year and a half in the making, and I'm glad you're able to come here. You know, give your great takes on all things movie related. So we appreciate having you. And hope you can come back many more times in the future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can find me at Derrick_OTS. That's DERRICK, the black way to spell it. Side note, actually, I went to Chick-fil-A this week and they spelled my name. I've never seen this before. DARICK. I was like, I've never seen that spell. I don't know what that was.
Derrick.
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 That's wild.
And it was a white lady that did it. So I'm kind of like, I was like, she should have just put an apostrophe there after the A. It'd have made it.
That is legendary. Oh man.
Say again.
Derrick.
Yeah, Derrick. Yeah, I was wondering why they would say my name so weird because I didn't even pick up on it at first. I was like, what?
She should have just wrote Durante at that rate. Like, how dare you?
I would have been fine with that. That would have been fine because I mean, got my food, so it is what it is.
But hey, you're validated. You say it for a reason every week. Just saying.
That's exactly why I say it, because everybody mixes it up. I have my first and last name, they always get wrong. So yeah. But anyway, more than following me, please follow the brand at OTS Media Co. on all social media platforms. If you're watching this, that means you're on our YouTube channel. So please, if you have not done so, hit that like button, subscribe, and notification bell. Find us on it's OTS Media on YouTube. So if you're not watching on there, please check it out. We have a lot of content that's coming out, especially at the beginning of next year. We will be bringing fans back, so please be on the lookout for that. There'll be some battles. If you guys have any battles you want to see, hit us up, let us know. And we are in the middle of a giveaway that I don't think a lot of people actually truly know about. If you go to the OTS IG page, you will see the giveaway rules and everything like that. But you know, just so you know, it's an Elf on the Shelf contest. So you know, do your best photos, tag us in it, and the rest of the rules are in the caption on the post. So please check that out. Follow and let us know what you guys think. But I think that's all we got. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. We will catch you all next time. Peace.